If you've been watching the news lately, especially this week, things are feeling kind of heavy. There's this political corruption we're told not to pay attention to. A young man is standing trial for the murder of another young man. Last night, I watched as a charter school executive in my home state pled guilty to over 10,000 images of parents abusing their children. Everywhere you look, there's another story that leaves you asking, what is happening to us? As someone who's spent the last 6 years advocating for children, this is weighing really heavily on me. And sometimes it feels like the things that I value are simply disintegrating, that we're being stripped piece by piece. I found myself thinking recently about how civilizations fall. And honestly, I have wondered if maybe a volcano would be better than this slow erosion. And yet, in the middle of all that heaviness, people still survive unimaginable things. People still heal. People still find grace. That's why I wanted to have this conversation. Today, I'm joined by my friend Careshmeh French Dean. She's an award-winning author. She's a speaker. She's a former teacher. I mean, she does it all. And she's experienced some of the grief of losing a husband, after being a newlywed, losing a husband, dealing with all of that grief, and coming out and finding love again. She's dealt with the challenges of rebuilding life afterwards and the grace of finding hope and love again on the other side of heartbreak. More than anything, I wanted this to be a heart-to-heart with my friend, an expert in grief and an expert in healing. So thank you so much for joining me, Careshmeh.
Oh my gosh, I'm just privileged to be here. You are one of my favorite people. I love that you are an advocate and not an activist. I love that. I love that you are differentiated in that. And I just love chatting with you. It's always leaves me better.
It was so hard to figure out what it is that I wanted to talk about because I don't normally cover grief. And that is a big part of what you do. You're an author. I'd love for you to tell people about your book, how that got started. I just want to kind of dig into your story, and then I want to bring it all the way back into how we cope in some heavy situations.
Well, I think that my situation transcends just losing a person. Grief is universal. It is something that we all have to experience. We all have to experience. It's not an option. Things don't always go our way in this world. It is just the way it is. How we deal with it, how we surmount it, what we teach others in how they need to deal with it is imperative. So, in speaking about my experience, I had come out of a 22-year horrific marriage, horrific. I'll leave it at that. And then I found this incredible man that made me feel whole again. I mean, actually, to be completely clear, he actually made me feel whole for the first time in my life. Never had I experienced that level of love, acceptance. I could be myself all the time with him, and he adored me. We enjoyed 2 years of amazing, amazing love. And then he was diagnosed with AML. We spent 2 years. Now, keep in mind, this was a diagnosis that was almost missed because we were in the guts of COVID. And once we were in the hospital, it was remarkable just to experience the healthcare system. It was remarkable to experience it in COVID. It was just eye-opening. And I remember thinking, what is going on? But being an advocate myself, I was going to advocate for him. I lived in the hospital with him. During that time, I saw things unimaginable, which is why I say no one should ever go into the hospital by themselves, ever, never. These people are doing their job. It is a job. It is not something that everyone does well. So just like in any employment, you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they're all in the same place. So we experienced some very highs, lows. Ultimately, we went out to MD Anderson, and that is where they effectively killed him. I will say that. I can't get around that. Their ineptitude, their incompetence, and their They just didn't pay attention to the details or anything like that. Losing him, I dove head first into complicated grief. And if people don't know what that is, complicated grief is very different than any other kind of grief because it doesn't have rational movement. And most grief is, I call it, hot spaghetti thrown on the floor. You don't know where it begins and ends. And a lot of people will say that it starts and then it goes back and then you do some reverse and then come forward. Complicated grief is, you can't even, I went through 4 different therapists trying to figure out someone, desperately asking someone to help me. And I landed on someone who was able to do EMDR, but I had a multitude of factors I used, many different modalities. And it was ultimately my faith in God that brought me back into the light. I was in the abyss of blackness. I couldn't find purpose. And I was surrounded by many, many people who loved me. I have 3 beautiful children. They have brought 3 more beautiful children through marriage into my life. I have a beautiful granddaughter, her birth happened right in the pit. I remember telling my daughter and feeling so sorrowful. I'm so sorry that this is the mother you get during your pregnancy. I'm sorry that this is who you have, because it wasn't good. And I just did my best. I was dumped on by people who had no idea what that even means to lose a spouse or anyone who's close to you. They had all kinds of platitudes, cliches, trite comments. And I remember that caused me to just dive deeper, deeper, deeper. I had to just focus on my Savior. I had to focus on what my therapist was telling me to do. And I had to keep moving forward, whether I wanted to or not. Grief doesn't stop, but life doesn't stop. So that prompted me.
Go ahead.
That prompted me through a series of people saying, hey, you've got the craziest story I've ever heard. And it's imperative that people hear it. It will help other people. It will increase their ability to survive. And so I wrote this book. I wrote Made for Me. And it is a book-ended love story. We're not meant to be unloved. We are not unloved. We are not unloved. And I learned that through the grace of God.
So when I met you, you were in the depths of all of this.
Yes.
And you were trying. I remember where I met you, and that you were just trying to make it through, but it was very obvious this was so heavy for you. And I think one of the things that I saw people doing oftentimes was thinking that you needed to have a time limit for your grief.
Yep.
And they would post things like that on social media. Well, it's probably time that you're over it.
Yes.
And I just thought, wow, I did not know that there was another husband before. So I just thought, oh my goodness, this poor newlywed. And I still think, oh my goodness, this poor newlywed, what a terrible experience to go through.
Right.
And I think at that point, I think that is the reason why I would call you a grief expert, because the place that you were living that out loud. Like, it was not a hidden thing, right? Like, people could see it. And somehow you were able to come through that. I feel like in a lot of different circumstances that we're seeing in the world right now, people expect, like in my opening kind of monologue, this young man, he was killed at a track field just over a year ago.
Yes.
And immediately there was this get over it kind of feeling, right? The same thing when Charlie Kirk was killed here. It was,
yes, I was going to mention that, just the craziness of it.
Yeah. Like, how do you get over something so quickly? Even do you ever completely get over it?
You will never get over it. That's like saying that you can cut an arm off and never think about it again. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that something that has indelibly marked itself upon your life it can't be erased. People shouldn't be erased.
Right.
People should not be erased. And that is what I see in our current culture, is this, not just get over it. I had someone tell me 2 weeks after the funeral, so are you back to work? And I was just like, well, I haven't even brushed my teeth today. I actually don't know. Do I have clothes on? I don't know what I'm even doing. And there is several documented cases, evidence that would indicate widow's fog is real. But traumatic loss causes a fog on your brain, and science will show that is so that you can survive. We are electrical. If it gets too hot, your brain will just melt, your heart will explode. And there are some people who actually have that happen. They die of a broken heart. I felt so many times I was on fire. I felt like I was on fire, literally internally, and it was burning the flesh off me. I lost so much weight. I was a skeleton. You probably remember looking at me and thinking, this girl needs a hamburger. What's wrong with her? But
I just thought you were beautiful, but
well, thank you. I appreciate that. But even in my darkest times, I kept thinking, I am doing my best. People would tell me to be grateful. I am a grateful human. I have never in my life not been grateful. And I understand the mechanism of gratitude. It allows your brain is remarkable in that it will believe anything you tell it, anything, good, bad, or ugly, which is probably one of the largest elements we have currently, is we are believing things that are not completely true. And we're allowing that assimilated information to give us justification for violence and upset and mistreatment and complete lack of sympathy. I don't generally like to use empathy. Empathy is something that you can't know very easily. It is so complicated to really be able to empathize with someone. There's too many facets of their life that don't match yours. But to sympathize with someone, to sympathize is different, because you can feel that pain and suffering that we're commanded to mourn with those that mourn. And it doesn't include giving them a sermon. I had a very close member of the family give me a sermon, I was like, are you like completely bipolar? Because she would use Job against me. And then she'd come back and say, I'm so sorry, this is actually what Job meant. And then she'd flip again. I am very well acquainted with Job at this point. He is one of my besties. And I recognize that he had to, unfortunately, the only person he could turn to was God as well. Everyone else forsook him. It was devastating. But I recognized that I just had to hold on to that pinpoint. I had to hold on to that pinpoint of light. I don't give people grace. That's a common term amongst the widowed community. I'm part of quite a few groups, and there's a half and half. There's a 50-50 group that will say, we need to give them grace, to which I respond, no, we don't. We don't need to give them grace, because we all have cell phones right now and access to the internet. If you are going to encounter someone who's grieving, you can look up exactly what not to say, what not to do, how not to be. And I would say we could always employ Thumper's adage that if you don't know what to say, don't say anything at all. And that actually is the best medicine for people who are aching. They're aching. And when people are aching, it's because there's no medicine, there's no fix. They have to work it out over time. And you don't get over it, you learn how to walk with it. Grief now has become a companion. I can't say, like some people do, that it's my friend, but it does remind me of the beautiful relationship of love that I have still, because it doesn't go away. Those things just don't go away. And being able to sit with someone in the quiet of their ache, that is what people need to learn how to do. And many cultures know how to do that. Ours just doesn't.
So what about, I'm surprised to hear you say that you don't believe in giving people grace, because I see people as flawed, but I also see it as growth. If somebody comes to you and says the wrong thing, to say, you know what? I
You're correct.
appreciate everything that you're trying to do, but that doesn't help. Here's what would.
You
So,
are correct. That is true. I will remedy that. Grace is definitely an action, and I did utilize that multiple times. I mentioned to several people when they would say, "How are you doing?" And I would respond, "Do you really want me to answer that? Because you know I just lost my husband."
yeah,
And of course, that put them in an uncomfortable situation. But I think discomfort, just like you said, it allows us to change our behavior. So you're correct in that it is supposed to be utilized to, hey, actually, it would be better if you asked me or said to me, don't even ask me how I'm doing because you know it's not well. I'm not doing well.
yeah,
But I would be lifted to know that you're happy to see me. I'm glad to see you. I'm happy to see you. Is there anything I can do for you? Those words, maybe they can, maybe they can't do something for me, but could you sit with me? I think opening the dialogue, which is something we don't do now. We want to know why this young man was killed. We want to know why Charlie Kirk was killed, murdered. These people were murdered. Why just recently another young man was knifed to death, and in the spirit of not communicating, because we've already got a narrative going on in our mind. We already
right.
know what we're going to say. We have to learn to stop that. We have to learn to listen. Ken Garf says that all the time. We're listening. We hear you. And no, it's
Right.
kind of
Yes.
quirky, but I think to myself, that's where it is. Are you really listening?
But
Are you really hearing?
can we get into that? Because a lot of times, so when I hear words like empathy, I immediately cringe up because these words are used, right? So
Yes.
people use these. They'll say, you need to learn how to listen. And while there's true circumstances where, yes, you need to learn how to listen, there's also people who say, you need to, the whole, not the golden rule anymore, but the platinum rule, which is treat others as they want to be treated. And it can be manipulated. And I feel like that's personally for me why I'm in this, like, I need to heal from the exhaustion of everywhere I turn seeing people who want to manipulate.
Yes. Yes. So, and that's a very interesting word to add to our just to this last bit, manipulation. Listening doesn't incorporate manipulation. Listening is really hearing what the other person is saying. Does that mean you're going to agree with them? No. But the next point is learning how to listen, disagree gracefully. Let's bring grace back. Disagree gracefully. Or if that point, read the room. Read the room. This woman just lost her, or this mother just lost her child, or this husband just lost his wife, or these children just lost their mother or father. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Read the room. Now, you can have sympathy to the point where if you don't know what to say, if you don't know what to do, offer your presence. But listening to me means you're hearing without your narrative going. You've
Mm.
stopped, you're really present. You've put your phone down, you're looking directly in their eyes, you're hearing them. You may not be able to help, you may not be able to agree, but you hear them. Do you know what happens when you do that? When you look into someone's eyes, you see them as the human that they are. You understand why they're all God's children and we need to love everyone. But does that mean we need to agree? And you said something about the platinum rule, and that was treat others
Treat
as they
others
would
as they
want to be treated. No, no,
want.
no, no, no.
Mhm.
The golden
Okay,
rule.
but
You
wait a
treat.
second. Wait.
Mhm.
Hold on to your thing there because I have a,
Yeah,
a thought here.
yeah,
I feel like, and again, maybe it's because I'm a little bit broken right now, but I
yeah.
feel like there are certain people that deserve your listening and certain people who just don't.
You are
That's
correct. You
so
are
so
correct.
I'm like, there are people who I'm like, yes, learn how a widow needs to be treated. Learn how the orphans need to be treated.
Yes.
Absolutely. But then you've got this whole other crowd of people again who will manipulate you. And to me, I'm like, just pretend they don't exist. Don't go after them. Don't play their games. But just honestly, I'm starting to appreciate the idea of gatekeeping.
I do agree with that. There is gatekeeping for our own mental health. For our own mental health. However, gatekeeping to me, I mean, we're entering kind of a dangerous conversation because there's a lot of cancel adults, the adult children canceling their parents.
Yes.
What that is. So let's separate those into the two things you're talking about.
Yeah.
You are someone who works like way up here. You're sometimes covered in it, right? That you are out talking to people, communicating. Now, those people may or may not add to your life. And thankfully, there's people who are not within our inner circle. And I'm talking about our family, our close friends. Friends are even, I mean, they're in a different vein than your family. We are biologically attached to our family. You have to learn how to live amongst them because you can't physically cut them out. You can go to the ends of the earth and you will never be able to erase the fact that you have a mother, or that you know you have a mother, or that you know that you have a brother. But can you create a relationship with them that is not toxic or destructive to your mentality, all the while not forfeiting that relationship? Yes. Yes, you can. What does that look like? There's no magic bullet. It's perseverance, it's prayer, it is discussion, it is further discussion, it's taking a break, it's coming back to the table and saying, I think there's been enough time. Oh, it looks like there hasn't. Okay, I'm going to continue. What does that look like? It's different for everyone. How do we talk to people? Now, if it's just the occasional person that I see at church, or that I see at my job, or that I'm at the grocery store, they happen to be in my neighborhood, I can make gatekeeping my protection in just that. And I did that. I actually did that because going to church was so painful for me. It was so painful. And I'm a very, very devout Christian. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I follow him. He is my savior. I couldn't go to church and hear about him. I couldn't hear about how take your yoke upon me. Now that has something different. That means something different to me now. But at the time I was like, I have tried to get under it. I've tried to get over. I've tried to I don't know how to bring it to me. I don't know what to do. And no one there knew either. Everyone was as ignorant as I am. And I remember giving myself permission. I'm going to go. I'm going to give it my all. And if I have to leave, I'm going to leave. I'm going to sit by the door. I'm going to go late. I'm going to go right on time so that no one can talk to me. And I'm going to leave a few minutes early so that no one can talk to me, because right now I can't handle it. And I had to do a lot of introspection to recognize I can't handle this particular thing right now. And people would text me, "Are you okay? Did I say something to offend you?" And I would say, "No, I 100%, this is a me issue. I will take full responsibility for where I am right now. And I can't handle this right now. So if I leave, please don't take offense. It's me protecting my brain." I have a dear friend who said, "Protect sanity at all costs." And that is true. So if you have to step away, now you can, like you said, you can not talk to certain people. You can engage in a conversation, and if that conversation is so vile, you can simply step away and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. This is not where my energy is going to be left. I can't do this right now, but I wish you well," and move on. Always leaving that stamp of good. Always just leave that stamp of, "Oh, I wish you well, but got to move on," right? But as far as your family, I mean, how atrocious is it that our psychiatric community is encouraging children in families to cancel their parents? That just
And for oftentimes, I wish I didn't have to diminish the wording here, right? But oftentimes for small reasons.
yes.
It is not you have been, abused tragically in your family.
No,
It is my family won't do what I want them to do. That
exactly.
that simple thing is enough to make a lot of young people, I mean, it really is.
Shocking.
It's well, it's another move towards communism, really.
Yes,
So it's about destroying the family at any way possible. The fact that there's youth centers all over Utah blows my mind because
exactly.
it was known as the family-friendly state, and now it is,
Mhm.
"Get away, quick, we no questions asked, just come on in."
And turn against your parents. Let's see what they're doing wrong. I mean, we
Yes,
see that. We see that in the communities in and outside of Utah, all around the United
yes.
States, where schools have overstepped their bounds because they feel like we do not agree with parenting styles. Whoa, step
Yes.
back. You do not need to agree or disagree. If that parent is not abusing their child, and you have to have evidence for that. You can't just jump to a conclusion.
Well, the
You just
problem is, go ahead, go ahead.
you just have no right. The teaching as a teacher, and I am actually now a part-time teacher again, and I know that I stay in my lane. My lane is to give information. My information is to be given and not assimilated by me. That information is to be assimilated by the student, and then student goes home and assimilates with their parents according to their moral code, according to their way of living. We're not disrupting a family, which is the strongest unit in society, especially if it is a healthy family. The most healthy, wonderful, happy people come from healthy families. And destroying that or insidiously moving into crack or poison that is evil.
Well, and the problem is that they, a lot of especially progressives have adopted the idea that it is, abusive or bigoted to not believe exactly what they believe, which
Exactly.
is ironic.
Ironic, hypocritical, all kinds of things, irrational. You've got a lot of like, what is happening? Whoa.
But
The pendulum it swings both ways. Whoa.
I just saw the new definition of bigotry, and it actually said, I wish I should have put it on a card, but it actually said to cling to your old ideas and old religions. And I was like, should we add traditions and beliefs too and just call it the four olds? You know?
Right. Like, wait, I mean, our country, our lives are built upon traditions and foundational ethics, which include our religion and our culture. I am who I am because of my culture on both my pioneer heritage, because my mother's side came across the plains.
Okay.
And my father is an immigrant from Iran. And both of those cultures had some complementary things. They also had some vastly different things, but they taught me and created the human that I am right now. To excise that, to cancel that would be canceling me. And that's not okay. It's okay. We can't celebrate diversity, but only this kind of diversity. That just doesn't work. It's destined to fail.
Right. And it's destined to destroy civilization as we know it, as we live it.
Yes.
Um, that is a conversation I wanted to get into with you because you are the child of an immigrant, and so many people today are. I'm shocked by the amount of teachers who do not believe in assimilation.
It is shocking. It is shocking. And my family was a good example of being able to assimilate. You have just come into a new culture, and more so in this country. I say this unabashedly. This country is the greatest country on God's green earth. I don't care what anyone said, which is why everyone is trying to destroy it. They're trying to destroy it by impeding on our culture. And we do have an American culture that is beautiful, vibrant, and free and free. And I know this because we escaped to come here to live. We escaped to come here to live. We lived under martial law for the first 4 years of my life. So I understand, and people can't understand right now what's going on over there. It is shocking to me, the misinformation. The people over there want to be as free as we are. They would love to be able to walk down the street without fear, without having to have documentation, to be able to walk with their husband, maybe hold his hand. Those are not allowed right now. So there's things that people in this country do not understand. And I do remember as a child, this is still embedded in me. We had one Jehovah's Witness kid in our class. And every time we stood up for the flag to do the Pledge of Allegiance, he would not.
Mhm.
And I remember being frustrated by that because we had experienced such a close call in being able to come to freedom. And I remember how much and still do revere that flag and how much I love this country. And I thought, oh, and I held that irritation, frustration well into my 20s. And then I remembered one day, I recalled thinking, wait a minute, that's exactly what the flag allows him to do. Practice his religion freely. That is exactly what our beautiful country allows him to do. Now, should he turn around and try to turn everyone Jehovah's Witness? That's not what I'm saying. We need to celebrate the differences, but we need to keep our eye focused. I am shocked at how many different flags are always being flung up on houses, and some of them to indicate what you're doing in your bedroom. That is so weird to me. That is so weird to me. That is just so weird. It's like an advertisement. I don't understand that. However, we are all Americans. That is one flag we can all fly with assurance that the beauty of our lives is allowed because we live here.
Yeah, I honestly feel like when I see that particular flag, it is a it is a slap in the face to what the American flag is. I really
Yeah.
do, because that's supposed to be representing all of us. And just because you don't believe it does, that doesn't change the reality that that is what the flag says. That is what the pledge says. And
Exactly.
this, I think another thing that I really struggle with is how many people are not rooted in reality.
Or trying to rewrite someone else's reality.
Yes, I saw a person yesterday who was writing, what do we have to be proud about living in America until we can recognize America's sins? I mean, it was a full-on diatribe, and I just sat there going, he's like, "When are we going to start talking about slavery?" And I'm like, I'll talk about it. You really want to go there, buddy?
Right?
But they don't, and so as a teacher, how do you heal without imposing your own ideas? How do we begin to heal? I think I've used this word with you before, but oikophobia is like my favorite word because it explains everything that's going on. Oikos is home, phobia, fear of your homeland.
Yeah. Or
Um,
despising.
just yes, fear or loathing is exactly the definition. Fear or loathing
Right.
of your homeland. Um, this is the stuff that makes everything feel heavy. This and also the crazy racialization, like just that everything is about race.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I want to ask you, as part Iranian, and I know that you're a very direct and honest person, was there racism in your family at all?
100%. My grandma did not nobody wanted my mother to marry my father. It was, and all of my aunts married people that my grandparents did not want. They were different races, and I think it was fear-based. But I will say this, whether their race was implicit in this or not, you should listen to your parents because they do have a little bit of knowledge and desire for your welfare. That was not a good match. It was a rough marriage based off the fact that there were not commonalities enough to be able to build and overcome to move forward in happiness. But we didn't just experience racism in family. Eventually everybody got over that, right? And moved forward. But we experienced racism in school. My father experienced racism at work. We experienced racism I remember all the way up to September 11th when my sister was told that she needed to go home. And we're like, well, this is our home. This is where we were born. My parents specifically made sure that we were born here because we have dual citizenship. So it is shocking. I've experienced sexism. I've been told that I can sit over here, or I've had all kinds of lewd and horrific remarks made to me. I remember as a cheerleader getting on the bus to go to a game. I'm trying to not say certain things so I don't incite, I don't want to be inappropriate, but I remember we got on afterwards. I remember having comments about my body and the whole bus talking about my body. I remember the one particular coach would say, oh, here comes our sand. And I'll let you finish the rest of that sentence. Wow. Here's our local raghead. Here's our camel jock. Hey, where's your towel? And I remember that was common. That was common. He would say that all through junior high. This person and whoever his cronies were would talk to me that way. We were never, ever raised to be victims. So what I see that as, and I know you share this, I see that as ignorance. I see that as hate and pure evil. Do I give energy and time to hate and pure evil? No. No, I do not. What I do is I knuckle down and I achieve. I do what I need to do. I focus on my goals. I focus on where I want to be. There's no place to live in the past. That's the reason why it's past. It's gone. It's over. It's finished. And if you keep bringing it into the future, you are simply sabotaging yourself. That is self-sabotage at the highest level, because you're not allowing people a clean slate to move forward. To say the country hasn't moved forward in incredible strides is ridiculous. It's absolutely asinine. We have to acknowledge where we're going, how much we've achieved, and set goals. I mean, that's what every profitable company does. You go through your year. Well, did we meet our goals? Did we meet where we wanted? Oh, what do we need to do to make sure that we do? Moving forward and celebrating the wins. This culture right now is not that. This culture is, let's digress. Let's continually revert. Let's revert.
Dismantle.
I mean, even when we're talking about the adult children canceling, you're going back to your childhood. Let me just tell you, my childhood was a mess. It was a mess. Yeah. I don't want to go back there because that's not the definition of me. And it's not the definition. How unfair is that, to hold people to something they did wrong, not allowing them the opportunity to right themselves? How evil is that?
It's grievance. It's evil for both sides. But so I feel differently on when people are bigots or people, and I also feel like there's a difference between bigotry and racism. I think bigotry oftentimes is ignorance without the hatred
and fear.
But I do feel like they're worth it because I've had many people change their minds, so I feel like putting the work into, guess what? I'm totally just an everyday person. Unfortunately, I feel like, and again, with the whole healing kind of thing, the fatigue is real.
Yes.
Okay? The
yes.
Watching, especially the African American community, just say some pretty dang vile things about everybody else, and having to be the person going, not like that. That's real. And I'm almost at the point where I just want to bring these two fingers that are in the center of my hand up and just say, I'm done. But it can't be, because then the purpose, which to me, that purpose is about healing. Yes. But yes, we do walk through it. We do. I had a family member who one of the first family dinners, we're all sitting as a family together, And this family member looks at me and goes, he tells my husband, he goes, "You're so lucky you married her after grandpa died."
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there going, I'm
Woo!
not supposed to object to this. And I'm just like,
What does that mean? Actually, no, I don't want to know what that means. I don't want to know what that means because that was a harmful, and just saying that, that's a harmful thing to
well, he was
say.
dead. So but then I went and
But I mean,
I
to that
asked
family
him
member,
why.
right? You need to correct the family member, like,
Well, oh, I did. I did.
I'm
And
sure
well,
you
I
did.
mean,
I have no doubt.
I'm like, oh.
What?
but but the thing is that I used it as an opportunity to talk to who would have been my grandfather-in-law's, my grandma. So,
Right.
and she was just like, had he met you, he would have changed his mind,
Yes.
and but that is work. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, is work the way that you heal through grief? Because sometimes I feel like, why do I have to?
Well, okay, let's just liken it to the human body. If we all sat around, we're all familiar with Wall-E. That was a very disturbing cartoon. I was just like, oh my good grief, because I could see the writing on the wall. If we do not work our body, it atrophies. If we do not work our brain, it atrophies. It literally dies, and just off of not misuse or non-use.
Yeah.
Our hearts, our spirits, our personalities evolve through work. And it is, I'm going to incorporate this too, which wolf are you feeding? Are you
Yeah.
feeding the positive wolf, the one that's going to actually make your life better? Are you hunkering down in that victimization and retrograded thought, right? Work, either way, is going to produce something. Do we have to keep working? Yes. In fact, my husband and I were just discussing, is retirement even healthy? I don't know. I don't know. God created us, and he's a working man. He only took one day off. So I look at that and think, yes, we do have to work. And only through the experience of work and pain and suffering, okay, so there's pain and suffering. What I had to learn, and this was something that it just ties into everything we're talking about. I had to focus on the positive because, again, the brain believes what you tell it. So gratitude has this magical ability to train your eyes to see the hope, to train your eyes to see the good, to train your eyes to focus on what's possible in spite of what may be going wrong. There was a famous man who created, and I may get this wrong, but it was before Coke Zero was Coke Zero. He actually tried it a long time ago and it failed. It flopped big time. But then he went on to CEO another company that was very much more profitable than where he was with Coke. And they interviewed him and they said, "So how do you feel about that failure?" And he said, "What failure are you talking about? That was a stepping stone into my better life." And that is exactly why I was able to see the new man, the new love of my life, the new direction. And I have to tell you, I mean, I do experience some disassociation still because it's a process. Like you said, does it ever go away? No, I do still experience some like, whoa, because I had spent so many years in that other life. Even with that 5 years with my late husband, I was still living the same life. My daughter and I were talking about how things didn't change up. He assimilated to us. He moved it into our home. He assimilated to us. And happily he did, but he didn't change anything in our life really, except his presence in addition. As far as this new life that I'm in, I tell people I was flung off the mountain that I was climbing up to. I was tore off and boom, crash, shattered, and immediately had to start figuring out how to put my Humpty Dumpty pieces back together, which was done by work, was done by a focus of gratitude, was done by, okay, regardless, I'm going to start my prayers with gratitude, even if I'm not feeling it. I'm going to train myself to see it. I'm going to train myself to do it. It is hard. And like you said, you go into your hidey hole with your minky Should you do that? Yes, you should. It is, all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy. We
Right.
should 100% give ourselves some rest. Rest. And that is something that I thank my husband, Daniel, for every day. He has allowed me to rest where I couldn't rest. I had 6 months. I had to go right back to work. I have to tell you that that was something that I did not recognize as a healing moment, because nobody at my job understood except for two people. The three.
Well, and you were
I could
around
say there were like 3
children,
people.
and they're not the most, I mean, they're so loving and so kind and so fun, but they think about themselves.
They have good intentions. Everyone has good intentions, but they have a job to do. But I
Yes.
do remember being asked, "Why aren't you in the faculty room?" And I was like, I was not there because, first of all, you do not want to see that ugly. I again had fixed my life into intervals. Okay, I'm going to cry all the way to work, then I'm going to compose myself, then I'm going to go in, and I am not accustomed to putting a mask on. Thankfully, I've been able to take it off.
Yeah.
That's another beautiful thing that my husband has allowed me to do, is to take my
Yeah.
mask back off. I had to place it. I had to like screw it in tight just in case it were to maybe falter. And then I was given until lunch. Then I could go out, take the mask off, cry, get myself back together, put the mask back on, and then go back to work until I could leave, or until everybody left and I could lock my door and cry in my room. And that was something that people did not understand. And I was actually penalized a couple of times for that. Asked, well, do you think that you're team building? I'm like, I'm doing my job.
You're
And
like,
and by the way, I was doing my job so well that my scores increased, and I made this, there were all kinds of accolades that my name appeared on. And I was like, gosh, I don't know why that. So you're not okay with me not being in the faculty. So that trumps the fact that I'm doing my job, and that
yeah.
my children absolutely love me and I love them. My children, those 33 kids that would, there were times they would come into, I'm like, my second year in 4th grade, there were 4 or 5 girls that would come and just
Yep.
in fact, when they moved me to 1st grade, they said, "Oh, you're going to have so much more love than you ever had in 4th grade." And I said, "Are they going to start kissing me on the mouth?"
Right. I
I
know.
can't have more. I hate to say this, but I can't have more affection. It would be inappropriate. Like,
Right.
my students, they can't help but touch me all the time. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
So it was, it was very eye-opening. But again, give yourself rest. That's what I had to do. I had to recognize. I have a very strong statement that I make all the time, and that is, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Yes. Now, I want to go back to this train your eyes to see the hope, because there's 2 points that I want to make before we wrap up here.
Yes.
The first one is, we're not doing that.
No.
We're literally teaching the opposite. We're training our eyes to see the very, very worst.
Yes.
And I find that extremely, I don't know if ironic's the right word. Intentional. I find it intentional.
It is. It is absolutely intentional. That is how we learned that through COVID. We learned that they could herd us like animals.
Yeah.
They did herd us like animals. And kind of like in 1984, you're seeing the hypocrisy, right? You're like, wait, I know that we're on rations. Why are you saying there's a surplus? Wait, what is going? So we're supposed to be 6 feet apart.
Wait, I know our elections are safe.
I know, exactly. Right. There's no corruption. There's no corruption, right? Why am I being herded into one entrance at Walmart when there's 2 distinct entrances that would allow me not to be close to people? What is going on, right? So there is an intentional play to look for the negative, to look for the down, to find fault, to not give grace.
Well, that's what critical people need to understand when we think critical thinking, we think, ooh, higher thinking,
Mhm.
looking for evidence.
Right. But does it have to be negative evidence? Can
And
it be
that's what
positive
critical
evidence? I
thinking,
mean,
yeah,
clearly now, and I will say this, we do have to hone in our instincts, and our instincts are not about finding the negative. Our instincts are what saved all the animals during Hurricane Katrina. Remember when all the animals escaped up the mountain, except the ones that were in cages, and that was a couple weeks before the
right.
tsunami? Do you remember that? Okay,
Yep.
so but who stayed on the shores watching and were killed? The humans. They are
Right.
so outside of their instincts. So
Yeah.
instincts are very strong and they're accurate. So I have no problem with figuring out if a situation is safe using my instincts, right?
Right.
Which is one of the things that this new, I'm a this or I'm a that, or just accept what I'm saying and let me rewrite your reality, is damaging your mentality, because I'm like, but I can feel instinctually that that's not true. I can see with my eyes that you are not a puppy. You are definitely a human, right? I can see that with my eyes. You're rewriting my reality. So using our instincts to keep us safe, that is something that we've been taught to do so that we can survive. It's a survival mechanism. That's not the same as you can still critical think a negative situation and figure out a positive resolution. There can be a win-win. There is a, hey, join us in the walk forward into the light. Let's not stay in the dark. Let's
Yes.
let that light in to drive out the dark. Let's do that, regardless of what walk of life you're in or what section of life you aspire to. Let's walk together in light and allow each of us our own individuality, our own thought processes without impeding on the other. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing society. I mean, except for, the human trafficking and child abuse and all. That's an absolute no. Okay. Which I feel like we're driving towards that, but that's a
Yeah.
conversation for another day. But,
Yeah.
training your eyes to see the good in people, even, I mean, that's not negating if they're doing something harmful. Okay. But there's got to be a way to turn this around for the good.
I want to talk about that turning it around and the training, because you said that you would go to your car, you'd drive crying, go to your car, it breaks, cry, go back, and that was your day. What other things did you do to train yourself to be, I don't want to use the word okay, because in the
To
process,
come back to the land of the living, I would say to come back to the land of the living.
yeah,
When you lose that hard, you sit in the land of the dead for a while, and that's okay. That's okay to do, right? That's what I was doing. I was sitting in the land of the dead. I was mourning. And mourning in the beginning is so sharp, so virile, so tender, so bleeding. It's just all those things. And so those mechanisms were just so that I could start. And what I learned was, okay, I didn't have to do that every day. Eventually, my car trips were less and less. Eventually, my tears were less and less. I was training myself by those actions intentionally. I think we need to intentionally do things, which would also negate any victimization, right? If I'm intentionally moving forward, regardless of how hard it is, I am going to eventually, the algorithm is going to be in my favor. It is going to start working because of whatever effort of good that I'm putting forward. It will give good, even in bad situations. I remember attending, it was a lecture, and it went really awry. It was very, very negative. There were people being brought up on stage, and the lecturer was making fun of them. And I remember leaving, and the person I went with was like, that was horrific. I'm so sorry that I brought you to this. And I said, wait, we learned something very profound. We learned quite a few things, actually. And the number one was that it's not okay to treat someone that way, and we would never allow that. So we've learned quite a bit, right? Even in the hard, even in the difficult, we have to focus on what did we learn that will move us forward well. Other things, I literally started my prayers with gratitude and ended them with gratitude, regardless of my feelings. I had to acknowledge certain things. I have a roof over my head. I have food in my belly. I have my sweet sister came to live with me. And to this day, I'm indebted to her. For the rest of my life, I'll be indebted to her for helping me. And she's a special needs sister, but she definitely has special needs she's incredible. Like that opened my eyes too, to the abilities of people that we marginalize, right? The abilities that they actually have. I just started seeing people more. I started focusing on the person, and that allowed me to glean their light, right? I wasn't focusing on myself. I was trying to move away from that. There's no two ways about it. You do have to introvert in those moments because you have to heal. You have to rest. You have to have breaks, right? Because it's such a heavy load. But the more I started to look around and acknowledge, because there was a fleeing of people who left me, I started to see, because gratitude trained me to see the good people that we're replacing. There are quite a few people, you and I share. One of them in particular, Annika, is an angel from heaven. She's just, there's no way to say it. She's an angel from heaven. She's here. I don't know why she's still on the earth, but she is here, and she is a beautiful, incredible soul full of love. Things that I had to focus on, intentionally putting myself, or intentionally choosing not to do things that would hurt me, because in that state, there are things that if you force yourself to do, it will spiral back. It will slap you in the face. And one of them was, like the first year, I didn't have any holidays. I chose to do some other things. I went on a walkabout. I had a fellow widow that went on walkabouts, and I went on a walkabout. I took myself down by myself to St. George, got myself a hotel room, went to the pool by myself, got a book that I wanted to read, surrounded myself on the bed with chocolate. That was the only thing I could actually eat. Everything else hurt my stomach, but chocolate, thank the Lord, because that was one of my favorite things. I just ate all the chocolate I wanted to. I mean, I became more acquainted with myself and what I really am, who I really am, versus what people were saying. I trained myself not to listen to other people and to listen to my internal voice. My internal voice. Now, that's not to say I didn't recognize truth when it was spoken to me, because by learning my internal voice, I could recognize that truth more easily, more readily. Just surrounding myself with the people who were helping me and taking a minute away from the people, I just don't know about cutting people off. There are people that I have outside of my gate because they've chosen to be outside of my gate. Would I invite them back in if they wanted to open the conversation? Yes. I believe in that, right?
I mean, I'm nodding. I'm nodding in agreement with your feelings. At the same time, I feel very, very strongly that there are people that you do not let in.
Yes.
And I feel like, especially like into institutions, like there are places where I don't want people who are going to intentionally infuse bad ideas, i.e. Marxism, into institutions. But when it comes to training, I'm thinking about this. I've just adopted 9% better this summer.
Oh,
because that's as far as I can go. So like this morning, I woke up and I made like 8 loaves of banana bread, little banana breads, because I told myself I'm going to be anti-people. I don't want to be. I want to just stay in my hidey hole, because I really am in that place. And so before I even, before anybody else was awake, I went to my neighbors and dropped them off on doors and walked away, because I don't want to hate. I know that's where. So I don't want to hate. I want to do what I can to not hate. But I think that emphasis is what you can.
What you can. Right. And just to point out, you didn't avoid people. You went directly and did something kind. You were training yourself to see kindness and to see the purpose in your kindness.
But I did do it while I didn't have to knock on doors. So because that
was
I was
ultimately that was for you though, right? Ultimately, that was for you. That soothed your soul. That made you feel love. that made
Yeah.
you feel okay. Are
Yeah.
are we to abandon self-care? Oh, I use that so carefully. Oh my gosh, because we're so focused on self,
Right.
but we do need to rejuvenate, to refill so that we can continue to make the banana bread.
I love that's perfect. All right, just because this will shut off at a certain point and then we won't be able to get all of our things, I'm going to close this down, but this has been so fun and we should
Delightful. Just
definitely do that
delightful.
again. And my friends who are
Absolutely.
watching and who'll pick it up later on, I really hope that this helps you if you're in that dark place where I think it's quite understandable to be right now. There's a lot of
Yeah.
heavy things. And honestly, June is a heavy in your face kind of month where you feel like I
I've
think I'll just
noticed
close
though,
my
so
door.
many people putting their flags up, their American flags up early. And I'm like, you know?
Okay, to be honest, those are the people I dropped off banana bread to.
They're putting up their American flag early, and even the
Yeah,
little bows on their, like, balconies and everything, and I'm like,
yeah,
"Amen. Thank you for
yeah,
celebrating the United States of America that should be
yeah,
celebrated longer and more." Yes,
yeah, like all the time. So,
I
anyways,
love it.
last thing, where can people find you?
Okay, I'm at careshmeh.com. I am also, Careshmeh1. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, though TikTok is dodgy. I don't know what I'm gonna leave it right there. I don't know. I'd love to figure that one out, but I love Facebook and the Instagram. I do have Careshmeh Dean as my author site. I have Careshmeh French Dean. I also have, like I said, Careshmeh1. I also am offering, I've done this before, I've started this and the invitation was accepted to go into book clubs, to allow them to read my book and to come in and discuss it in person. And I will do that anywhere in Utah, in the United States. I would be happy to do the United States. I mean, we can work that out as far as flights and everything, but I am happy to come and discuss this, or to discuss in grief groups, or any group that is wanting to know how to persevere.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope you
Okay.
have a great day.
You too.
I love your sunny shininess.
Right back at you.